And you cut me off as I was singing.
Yeah.
No,
my bad. Sorry about that.
Let's try that again. Go ahead with that again. How was it again?
Okay.
Keep my voice again on there.
You went R&B on it.
You see, I did like that.
Oh, yeah, with the hand and everything.
Yeah, see, I practice those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like, that's why tomorrow when you can catch me on Inside Texas Politics, 9 on 8, that's right, 9 on 8, I even practice hand gestures. As you just saw, we'll re-roll the track, you'll see how I came in and I did that like that. I just knew that was happening. I just knew that was happening.
All we gotta do is cue the rain.
That's it. So we are here live, up close and personal. We got James Fisher Jr., who is listening in, and Sarah Kovic, who's listening in, and Judge Amber Givens Davis has joined us as well. Hello, Judge Amber Givens Davis. Thank you for listening in. And our next guest, he is coming to the door right now. And who should it be? It's Judge John Creuzot. Bring him on over.
Okay.
All right. Have a seat. I'd like to thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. The last time I saw you,
Other than today.
Was at my house.
Yes, it was.
At my house. I'm going to tell you how it happened. If you think this election season isn't a very testy election season, and I mean testy by this, and what I mean specifically by this, that is highly contested. I was sitting at my home and I was preparing to do the Commish radio show when I heard a knock at the door. Sound like the police. And the doorbell rang. That normally means the police are there because they don't want to do that kind of thing. So I come to the door, and who should it be? It should be Judge John Creuzot. And he's already ready. He's already ready in form, if you will, because he didn't even look up. He was ready. I'm John Creuzot. Hey, Ed, how you doing? He knocked on my door, and there you were, man. There you were. So I appreciate you for coming by the house, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, in the primary season, I probably knocked on 2,000 doors myself.
2,000?
Yeah. So I would do, 100 or more a weekend. And in fact, before I got here today,
that's what you were doing?
That's what I was doing. I was knocking on doors in Lancaster. And so, we know who votes. That's all kind of information that you can get. And we know when they vote and how they vote, kind of. And so we're knocking on the doors of people who vote often and who don't vote often, because we're trying to get everybody to understand the importance of this election. And for all of the listeners, this is the last time on the current law that you will be able to vote a straight Democratic ticket. The Republican legislature and the Republican governor took that away from us. And in the big counties where we're electing diverse candidates and Democrats, they're hoping to take that away. I imagine is why they changed that law. So anyway, we're trying to get the message out, plus our own particular message. We have a slate of 8 Democrats running for the Court of Appeals, which is all Republican right now. And if we have enough turnout, we can put 8 out of 13 people on that court to be, fair, open-minded
8 out of
Democrats.
13?
Yes.
Now, you're in Lancaster right now?
That's where I was today.
That's where you were campaigning today?
Yes, knocking on doors in Lancaster, yes.
I was driving, one of my business interests is in Lancaster, and I was driving down Beltline, and I saw all these gigantic signs saying Faith Johnson.
I saw one today.
Saw one?
Yeah.
I've never seen signs over there for a Republican in that area that way.
Well, she doesn't have Republican on her signs.
Oh.
So she's running as a Republican, but not for you to know that she's a Republican.
I didn't notice that. I saw just her name, and that was it.
So if you look at my sign, you see real criminal justice reform. Some thoughts, some ideas. If you follow my Facebook post, if you look at my campaign literature, we have issues that we're talking about. And hers is just elected. And that's fair, but, that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. But she has left off the fact that she's a Republican. And that's her choice also.
Now, this week has been a very good week for her, it seems like.
It's a good week for justice, yes.
Give me your opinion on that. I saw your Facebook post. For those people who are listening and looking in, you may want to go back and look at the Commission Radio Show political page and take a look at the Facebook post. I believe you did a post that was on there as well.
Yes, we did. We put it up last night about the Roy Oliver, Jordan Edwards trial. And I did not attend any of the trial, but I was reading it and talking to people about it. Of course, a murder case is nothing new to me. I've tried many murder cases as a lawyer and, of course, as a judge. So I was interested to see how it played out. He was charged with murder of Jordan Edwards and aggravated assault of the other kids in the car. And for those who don't know, he was found guilty of the murder of Jordan Edwards, but not guilty of aggravated assault for the other kids in the car.
Is that uncommon? Is that right, or is that wrong?
Well, it's uncommon to have a police officer shoot into a car full of people. So that's the number one thing that's uncommon, okay? Not unheard of, but it's not common. So that put this into a whole different sphere of what can play out, what to expect. There were defenses, self-defense, he alleged, and defense of a third person because he alleged that one of his fellow officers he felt was threatened. And I know there was a lot of reporting in the paper about the officer himself said he didn't feel threatened, but technically what the law is on defense of a third person, if you reasonably believe the person is threatened, even if they're not, you have a justification to protect them. Okay? So the fact that the officer said I didn't feel threatened didn't mean that he didn't have a right to shoot. Now, obviously what the jury found against him on his justifications of self-defense and or defense of a third person, and they found him guilty of murder. I was a little surprised that they found him not guilty on the aggravated assault cases just because of they're all in the car
murder
together.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
So he was convicted of murder of one person because he shot him with
He
the
said
gun.
he intended to kill him.
But the other people that were in
Right.
the car.
He said, so listen to what he said, and this is
Okay.
how I think it breaks down.
I got you.
Just my 36 years experience of trying those cases.
I like the way you said that. You said, I don't know anything, but I just know 36 years, and
Yeah,
I've
right.
done this a couple of times.
I've done this more than a few times.
Yeah, go ahead.
So listen to
Yes.
what he said. He said, I was shooting at the person he hit, okay? And he had no other intentions other than to hit the person he was shooting at. So that in and of itself would likely cause a jury to find him not guilty of aggravated assault because he didn't have any intent
On the
to
others.
threaten them. Yes, his intent was to one person, not to 3 or 4 or 5, okay, based on his testimony. Now, I don't know what all the rest of the testimony, there's a lot of testimony, but if you just take that alone, I can see how a jury could find him not guilty of the aggravated assault, okay? On the other hand, had they found him guilty of aggravated assault, I could understand that too, because they were all in close proximity.
Now, the sentence in itself, the 15 years,
Pretty low,
low.
pretty low.
Why would you say that?
Well, once again, years of experience. Usually someone who commits that type of act on that type of person, okay, in ordinary circumstances, usually gets more time than that, okay? But now you have a police officer who's trained in the use of force and trained when to use it and when not to use it, okay? So we would think that based on the police department's response to firing him, okay, and the grand jury indicting him, that any training that he had, he threw it all out the window and did his own thing. He's on his own. He's trained in self-defense. He's trained in defense of third person. He's well overtrained in the use of firearms and when to use them. And in today's world, it seems that the police are very well trained on using force other than lethal force. And he cast all that aside and shot and killed a very promising teenager. And on balance, in my mind, I just think that warranted a higher sentence.
The jury composition, and I've spoken about the jury composition. The jury composition had 4 minorities on it, 1 African American woman and 3 other minorities, and there were no black males on that jury at all. Do you think that had anything to do with maybe do you just speak?
I don't know. People come down to serve, okay? And a lot of people don't show up. More people don't show up for jury service than do. And people come in and they don't want to be there. But when they get into the courtroom, they still don't want to be there, but less so. And when they get on the jury, they start getting serious about what's going on. And I'm sure they understood the seriousness of this case. I don't, once again, I look at it, in my opinion, it should have been a higher sentence, but I'm not going to impugn the integrity of the jury, the people who came down to serve and did so.
All right, I'm glad you won't, because that's my job.
Okay.
So that being said, I would like to go ahead and say hello to some of our people in the law enforcement community. Chief of Police in Cleveland, Texas, Rob Severance, formerly of Grand Prairie. I'd like to say hello to him. Also, Lee Merritt law firm. He's on board as well with us. And let's see who else we have. Elliot Jackson, and also Cindy Jones has joined us. Thank you for joining in and listening to the Commish Radio Show. Much love to you all. Now that we talked about this past week, as we go into November, how many days is it before next?
About 2 months.
2 months?
2 months and a few days. So today is September 1, and it's November 6th. So 60,
how many,
4 or 5 days.
How many hours of sleep you get? You ain't getting that many, ain't you?
I'm getting enough.
You getting enough?
Yeah.
Well, last year we spent this day last year. If this was 365 days ago, we were with each other at the Union Hall on this day.
Yes.
Yep.
And we will be on Monday if you're there.
I'll be there.
So we'll be there again.
AFL Labor Day breakfast coming
right
up as well. We're coming up. Your campaign. What new goals do you have for us? Do you have in store for us if you're elected?
Well, so my background is one of criminal justice reform. Okay, when we started down that path with the community and with people who were charged with crimes, low-level drug crimes, before the programs that I started, they were just cycling in and out of the system. And obviously that's a waste to them, their families, and taxpayer money. So we started a diversion program. And people didn't have to get indicted, they didn't have to plead guilty, they went through treatment, the cases were dismissed and expunged. And we showed great results. That's a form of criminal justice reform. Criminal justice reform is larger than that now. We talk about cite and release, something we support. There's actual legislation allowing police officers on certain cases to just give a ticket to a person and for them to show up to court. We support bail bond reform. Okay, I've been talking about that for years, long before anybody else started talking about it. It's become popular now, and it's something that people are focusing on around the United States. Poor people shouldn't be left in jail simply because they don't have the money to get out if they're going to appear in court. So we talk about that. We talk about conviction integrity and how to run that and make that the best department that it can be and report directly to me. We talk about low-level offenders and why are we putting a criminal conviction on a low-level offender, even if it's a misdemeanor or low-level felonies. There's so many cases. And what happens is we all know, 1 out of 3 black males in this country is going to wind up with a criminal record, either in jail or in prison. And we need to do everything we can to study what we do and what we're going to do in Dallas County to put an end to that or to change those dynamics. because of my drug treatment program, the philosophical underpinnings of that program were adopted by the legislature, and we've actually closed 8 prisons. We're actually dropping in the number of prisoners in the state of Texas, but it's because somebody had to show that we don't have to lock up everybody. And so when we did a study of that program, we had a 60+% reduction in rearrest. And for every dollar spent, $9.34 saved. That's a lot of money. That's teacher salaries, that's infrastructure, that's other things that we can do with that money. And so I have a very aggressive campaign of criminal justice reform. If you'll notice my opponents, you said you've seen her signs, it's just got her name, our DA, elect me. Mine has a message, real criminal justice reform. And so what I've done is I've promised this community in 90 days, and really some of it will be more than, in less than 90 days, but in 90 days we're going to come out with a plan to tackle and reduce and hopefully eliminate mass incarceration in Dallas County. But we want to do it in such a way with integrity that other DA's offices around the state and around the country can pick up on what we're doing and adopt the same measures. We don't want to be selfish, okay? We don't want to do things that are just unique to Dallas County. We want to do things that can be replicated, just like that divert court. You know, when I started that, there was 1 court. Now there's 300 and something similar type courts around the state of Texas. Because it worked so well, the legislature adopted a different way of funding probation, and we developed programs to educate judges on how to sentence people, and how to look at folks, and how to get rid of implicit bias, and how to really sentence a person based on who they are, not how they look, not where they come from, not how they talk. And so we've done a lot of work. We still have a lot of work to do. But as your next elected district attorney, we can take it better, higher, and really do a good job and change the culture of the office, and prosecute and put away those who are dangerous and pose a threat to the community, and work with everybody else and keep our folks from having, people of color and poor people from having a criminal record.
Now, bail reform and that the bail reform that's being espoused, that's being proclaimed, if you will, by a lot of candidates that we need to go ahead and do. Has that been performed and instituted somewhere else?
Well, so bail reform is a relatively new thing, okay? So what we're trying to do is figure out who that person is that we can trust to show up. It's called a risk assessment, okay? A risk to show up to court. And so there are some institutes and some universities and some foundations who are pouring millions of dollars into pilot programs and testing this to see. Different places, San Antonio may look different from Dallas, and Dallas may look different from LA, and what have you. But this is something that is on the move. It's moving quickly across the United States. Our current system, in my opinion, is unconstitutional. I'll say that now, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Keeping people in jail just because they're poor.
Right.
But in order to reform our system, it's going to take the cooperation of, not the DA can't do it alone. The judges have to cooperate, which they want to, and so do our Dallas County commissioners. They want to, each and every one of them. So it's a question of having a system that's never done that, never focused on that, and having it's like knowing the Titanic's going to hit the iceberg, okay, and stopping it and turning it around. That's what this is going to be like, to save all the souls on the Titanic. If they'd known, they'd have done that. So we see the Titanic. We know we have hit the iceberg, okay? We're trying to save lives, and we're trying to figure out how to keep the Titanic afloat, so to speak, and this bail reform thing.
Okay. When we come back, we'll talk further about your campaign.
Okay.
And those prisons, you say 8 of them were closed?
8 prisons.
8 prisons?
Yeah, people don't know that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. 8 prisons closed. All right. Sure. What we got? Like this, football time. Football
Hello
time.
out there. My name is Byron Williams, former NFL player. I'm with the NFL Players Association. And when I'm not in the community, I'm listening to Mr. Ed Gray, the commish.
Hey everybody, it's Casey Fox, the Lady General, and I consistently listen to the Commission Radio Show for the latest in politics and entertainment.
Yeah.
So when you see me turn away from from me, and I'm glancing at it, and I'm glancing.
Yeah, that's right.
This is Lee Merritt from the Merritt and Crockett Law Firm, the Next Generation Action Network, supporting Black Lives Matter, supporting you all to come out on the Commish Show and get some food for the soul and stay woke.
I'm Pastor Freddie Haynes. I listen to the Commish Show on the Fishbowl for my social activism information so I can be a better agitator.
Commish Radio Show back again. Would like to encourage everyone to listen to the Commish Radio Show special, which is on Heaven 97 KHVN, the third Saturday on Heaven 97. You know, we said that we wanted to go ahead and put our message throughout America, throughout all forms and platforms, such as, if you're looking in right now, Facebook Live and internet radio, where I'm understanding that people are listening to us in Bangladesh for some reason. Why are they listening to us in Bangladesh? I don't know.
They want to hear the latest in politics out here.
In Oak Cliff?
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, listen to us over there on Heaven 97 KHVN. And that's where you will hear some of our drops. We play the drops here. And you will hear the latest update, again, Inside Texas Politics, 9 on 8, and read your North Dallas Gazette and your other black periodicals as well, and the Dallas Morning News. Shout out to my guys over at Williams Fried Chicken, Hiawatha Williams, one of our upcoming sponsors of the Commish Radio Show. Did a great presentation at In the Huddle with Chris Howe. We will continue to talk about that because this was a great event. We also have one of the young men from that In the Huddle with us. He's joined our team as well. Shout out to Andrew Finch. We got to come up with a radio name for him. Bird sings, Finch sings. I don't know. That's not good when we talk about justice and everything. That's not good. We got to figure out something else. But what we got going on, we're talking about justice again. We are talking to the Dallas Democratic nominee for district attorney for Dallas County again, and that will be Judge Creuzot, John Creuzot.
Yes, sir.
Back again.
Thank you.
Back again. You know, I did a Hiawatha Williams deal, so if you elected, we need you to go down to Houston and give us some French's chicken.
All right. Well, Mr. Williams and I have known each other for a long time. I have a lot of respect for him.
Y'all exchange chicken recipes?
No, we didn't do that. But he has, in the past, been a supporter and a friend.
He's a good guy.
Yes, he is.
Excellent friend as well. The campaign that we were talking about, being very serious about this, when we're talking about justice, it's always serious. We closed down 8 prisons.
Yes.
These prisons that we closed down, were they public or private?
Both.
Both.
Yes.
I know we got Jesse Dawson. That's closed.
Yes.
Across the street. From.
So we had a mixture. So let's talk about private prisons. Let's get on that. Okay. Private prisons cost the federal government or state government or local governments a lot less, but when you get what you pay for, right? And people are mistreated, malnourished, subjected to behaviors that would not be acceptable in a public prison. And other than saving dollars, there's really no social benefit to them. They harm the people that are in there. So if you send a person who, let's say somebody has a long criminal record, there's a reason, okay? And if you put them in an institution where they're constantly at risk of being harmed, you create in their mindset a defensive posture to the whole world. And then you put them back out in society. They're going to respond that way because you've now conditioned them that way in a private prison. And so private prisons, it's an interesting thing. The Republican administration in Washington, through the Attorney General, I'm not going to call him Jeff Sessions, I'm going to call him by his name, Jefferson Beauregard Sessions. Let's get it right.
Right, you left out the third. Let's be totally correct.
Let's just get it right.
Jefferson Beauregard Sessions the third.
The third,
Yeah.
right. Okay. He's in a long line of
People who made the same mistake
Right.
of naming their child, what was that name again?
Jefferson Beauregard
Sessions III.
So if you don't know, he was a U.S. attorney in Alabama. Back in the 80s, they tried to get him on a federal bench, and his comments towards African American colleagues kept him from getting that position. Okay, so his mind is 70s and 80s when this concept of private prisons came up. 70s and 80s when we started talking about mandatory minimums. All right, so he wants to institute mandatory minimums. In fact, not wants to, he has reinstituted it when the Obama administration got away from it. And he also, so you're going to lock up more people. And you're going to lock up more people of color when you do that. Because
with mandatory minimum?
Yes, no question. That's what.
That was started by President Clinton too.
Clinton too. He's
got to
take his piece of it.
Sorry, that's it.
That's right.
First black president, they told me.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so he wants. So if you have more prisoners, you need some place to put them, right? Well, so then now Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III comes along with another idea right after mandatory minimums and charging the highest offense, etc. He says we need more private prisons. So that's the Republican philosophy and lineage that we're dealing with. Okay, in Texas, we've had, because of what we've shown in cost savings and savings of lives, we've been able to reduce our prison population by about 9,000 people, which has resulted in the closure of about 8 prisons. So you figure out roughly about 2,000 on average people in a prison, depending on the prison. And so some of those that closed were private prisons. They were under a lot of scrutiny. Same old story, weren't doing well. Folks coming out worse than they went in. And so they managed to do that. One of the first prisons the first prison that we closed was in Sugar Land, Texas. It was the oldest and therefore the most expensive prison to operate. And the community was encroaching upon it, and rather than embracing it, they wanted it. We want this land for development. So it became easy to close that. But during the mid-2000s, the Texas legislature had a projection that if we kept going the way we were going to need 17,000 more prison beds. The only promising thing that they had seen to reduce the population of prisoners was what I started back with the report. Yeah, so you talk about 68% reduction in rearrest. They'd never seen any program that did that before. And so we had SMU do that study, the psychology department. Then we had the economics department do the cost-benefit analysis. And for every dollar spent, $9.34. So money talks. Okay, data equals dollars. Money talks. I'm not going to say the rest of it, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so what happened was there was a decision. Okay, Senator West was one of the movers on that. Senator Rodney Ellis was one of the movers on that. Senator John Whitmire, Representative Jerry Madden, and others. The Speaker of the House, who will soon no longer be the Speaker of the House, and Rick Perry, quite honestly, saw the value of expanding these problem-solving courts, drug courts. And so what we did was we had an agreement, kind of a justice reinvestment, that if you save so much, we'll give you so much. And so we now have, for example, we have a reentry program for people with long records coming out of prison-based treatment here in Dallas County that has a $2.4 million budget that's funded entirely by the state of Texas. No Dallas County money, because it works. And Robert Francis is my friend Bobby Francis, Judge Bobby Francis, or Robert Francis, runs that program, and we hope to keep that going.
That's a good thing. When I think of private prisons, maybe it's still open there. It's one in Venus, Texas.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where they all are.
No, this is not a trick question.
No, I know.
No, but it's like
we don't have trick questions.
No, we don't do that.
That's what I tell people. I don't have a trick question. I may have one you don't know the answer to, but it ain't a trick question.
But you can't even find Venus on a map. Maybe perhaps Chief Severance can find it because it's next to Cleveland.
Now, I may have been to that.
You've been to that one?
Recently, Faith in Texas asked District Attorney Johnson and myself to go, and that may have been the one that is privately, that may have been the one I went to because it was privately operated.
It was hard to find, wasn't it?
It was, you know, they don't build them. They don't put them next to Kmart.
I mean, you know, Venus, Texas is hard to find on a map in the first place.
It was out 67. I know that.
That's it.
Okay, and it was before you got to 35.
Yeah, that's it.
You turned off.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. Because you know you find it when you're trying to take a shortcut to watch ads, and you go down this way.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, that's a prison. When
Yeah,
you build that?
it sits off.
Yes,
off the road.
yeah, it does.
As they all do.
Yeah, they do. Now we got the Court. We got that going. The Innocence Project. I mean, we seem like all the time in Dallas County, it's like they always have one of those Lifetime movies about somebody going to jail because they weren't supposed to go to jail.
Right.
What we gonna do about that?
Well, so you know, one of the first and somewhat easy ways to determine innocence was DNA. Excuse me. And so we still have some DNA somewhere in the, you know, not as many cases as we had initially. But now we're finding out that the police may have hidden some evidence that even the prosecutor didn't know about, or maybe didn't know about. Maybe the prosecutor helped hide the evidence. We're finding out that lineups were conducted in such a fashion as to cause the person to pick out the suspect who may be innocent. So there are different aspects of conviction integrity and working with the Innocence Project that we're beginning to embark upon. So, excuse me, it's more than just DNA cases. It's also other kinds of cases.
So we will continue that if you're there.
Excuse me.
Let's take a quick break for a quick second.
Yeah. Got something in my throat.
Hit this right up this show, Sensibility Motivation Speaking. Every Saturday I'm just chilling and listening to the 8th grade talk radio show, The Commish.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Charlotte Wooten, and I'm the owner of Center of Attraction Hair Gallery. And when I want to be informed about what's going on within the DFW communities, I tune in every Saturday to the Commission Radio Show with Ed Gray from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Join us.
It's a trickle effect.
Yeah, trickle down thing.
Listen, I looked up Venus Prison. I looked it up. They got
Hello out there. My name is Byron Williams, former NFL player. I'm with the NFL Players Association. And when I'm not in the community, I'm listening to Mr. Ed Gray, the commish.
5 seconds.
You got live on here now? All right, Commish Radio Show. You did play that intro again, man.
Oh, yeah.
You know, special shout out to my SMU ponies. And I believe they are opening up the football season. Last time around, I was with Reggie DuPont and
From New Orleans.
Yeah.
504.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. What you know about that, man?
Oh man, I don't know nothing about no Ninth Ward.
Look at you, man. You want the judge, huh?
I don't know nothing about no Ninth Ward. Sheffield Highway.
Man,
Come on,
come on, man. Why you?
Creuzot.
Come
You know,
on,
that
man.
ain't Russian. It ain't Belarusian. It ain't. You know, come on.
Come on, you still on the new side of yourself, man. You put the 504 area code out there. You act like
Come
that.
on.
This ain't the dude we had come up.
I was gonna say,
What you do to him, man? What you put in the water?
I didn't get that one. He took a sip.
What you put in that water, man? What's in that water? Something in the water.
That's something in my throat.
Yeah.
No, I'm from New Orleans. I'm from Ninth Ward, Upper Ninth Ward. In fact, my first year, we lived in Lower Ninth Ward, and then my family moved. Really wasn't that far away, but it's on the other side of Sheffield Highway. I don't know if you know anything about New Orleans, but they were developing East New Orleans when I left. So when I was 9, we moved to Houston. But no, I'm a 504.
That's it. You still got people in New Orleans?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No.
They all moved? Okay.
Yeah, so my grandmother was, immediate family. My grandmother was the last one. She died in 78, so she's been deceased for a long time. My grandfather was predeceased her. I had a cousin who lived there, who actually moved from Ohio to practice medicine there, but then he took his medical practice to Monroe. So we really don't have anybody there anymore. And so usually when I go there, it's for business or some kind of pleasure or something like that.
Okay. And your mom's still with us and everything?
Y'all won't believe, you won't believe this. My mother runs Frenchie's restaurant in Houston. People know about Frenchie's fried chicken. Okay, my mother's 91. She may be at work right now. She will be at work on Monday morning.
She will be at work on Monday
Yeah.
morning. It's Labor Day, man.
Don't matter to her. Well, yeah, that's called labor. So she goes labor.
Okay.
So my son, so I got a funny story to tell you. My son has worked there. He's a freshman at UT now, but he has worked at the store. And my mom would be gone and would come back, and he said, "Dad, you won't believe what the employees call Grandma." I said, "What?" "Gangster Grandma."
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, she's pretty hard nosed. Okay. Yeah. And you don't live to be 91 and live by yourself and drive a car perfectly well. In fact, if you and I were going somewhere with her, following her, you better buckle up, okay? Because she ain't playing. And she gonna get down the highway and she gonna shift some lanes, and she's not gonna get on the shoulder. She's not gonna do that, but she will move on down that highway. Yeah. So the last new car she got, I asked her, what'd you get? "Oh, your brother bought me something." So I said, "Well, what kind? You get a 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder engine?" She said, "I don't know what kind of engine." I told him I want something. When I press my foot on that gas, I want that damn thing to get up and go. She said, "I don't know what it's got. As long as it'll do that, I'm okay." So,
What'd she get, John?
some kind of Jeep.
Yeah, Jeep.
Yeah, but she needs an SUV because she carries, food and things that you put food on, and if you need some cups, they don't come in something. It's not like going to the grocery store. It's in something that big.
Right.
So she has that type of equipment to put, to use.
So that's why you get your straightforwardness and all that from her?
Yeah, she don't put up much mess.
So you known for that too?
I guess so. I don't know. It's kind of interesting how people perceive me, and I obviously you all just think you saw a side of me that you hadn't seen before, but that really is me. I am from New Orleans, and I'm proud of it. I joke around about it. I think that sometimes when I talk about serious issues that impact people's lives, that side of me doesn't come out. I think I've heard that. Let's put it that way. But we are talking about people's lives. I mean, we're talking about, and the thing about being in a courtroom, okay, for 22 years as a judge, you got to see all kinds of people come before you, and you don't know why they're there. I mean, you know the offense, but the underneath.
How they got to that point.
Okay? And usually, somebody that's got 2 or 3 cases has a multitude of issues and problems. Now, the easy thing to do is to send them back. Okay? And nobody's going to say a word, except you've just lost an opportunity to help save a life. Okay? The hard thing to do, and this is why my campaign is called hardwork.com. Okay? The hard thing to do is to put your heart into them. They come down there conditioned to get another sentence. Okay? And they're looking at me ready to go do this. I'm looking at them thinking, what are we doing here? Why are we here again? And what can we do to stop this behavior? So if you're going to stop the behavior, you've got to stop something in here, and you got to stop something in there.
Sounds good.
And so that's what we need to do. We are around this nation and in this state and in this county continually looking at the case, looking at the cause number, and not looking at the person. And what I want to do is look at these offenders, not even just the low-level offenders, the first-timers, but those who can't seem to do anything but come back. As I told them, dude, if you were good at this, you wouldn't even be standing here. I mean, you ain't even good at it, So here you are. You wouldn't even be here if you were good at it. You can't even get that right, whatever it is. And so what we did, and we talk about another program other than Divert. Let's talk about people who've been to prison 5 or 6 times. Now there's not much public sympathy for them. Okay, but are you going to make it the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th time, or are you going to try to arrest that conduct, stop that conduct? And so we developed a program to send them to prison-based treatment. But when they got back, they came to me every Friday. So we set aside 2 hours every Friday, other than regular docket. I had special probation officers, I had a treatment program for them, and they were held accountable by me. Okay, and we had that study. We didn't do a cost benefit analysis, but we reduced probation revocations, we reduced new offenses. Okay, and that's your most difficult population. Some of those guys have been, and women have been to the pen 5-6 times. So
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. We got a lot to talk about. I want you to
Okay.
come back on again.
okay,
You ready to do this again? As we get
Yeah.
close to election time?
yeah.
Okay, when is election time?
November 6th,
November 6th. All right, we'll get you
2018.
2018.
That's right.
You show up 2019, you late.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
show up November 7th. You're
Yep, there you go. There you go. Well, thank you, Judge. I appreciate
Okay,
you
thank
coming
you.
on the show.
Yeah.
All right, Commission Radio Show. Strip, I think it's time for us to leave, man. So, hey, let's play some outgo music and we're out. Remember, tune in tomorrow, Inside Texas Politics, 9 on 8, where you'll see me talk about the John McCain legacy. Meanwhile, stay up, stay focused. Let's move forward. Thank you. You said gangster, so that's why we started.
Radio, they messed up again, man. How did they do that to me? They got America's 2 most wanted back together again, man. So what, we still got our crowns, we got it. We the kings. We the kings of internet radio. If y'all didn't know, now y'all know. This is the 2 Kings of Fishbowl Radio Network right here.